Do we want attention and validation, or do we want a relationship? Those are two different things, and neither are good or bad. If someone wants attention and validation, go for it.
You want to have a relationship with someone? You want someone around you can trust? You want someone around you can tie your life to in this way that weaves a rope? You want someone you can grow old with? Do you want someone to be a mother for your children, assuming you want children? And if you don't want children, well, you probably will. And if you don't, you're either deluded or immature. So, and you might say, well, no, the planet has too many people on. It's like, yeah, whatever. Good luck with that. And so every single one of your ancestors reproduced in an unending procession lasting 3.5 billion years. And they're all wrong and you're right. It's like, I don't think so.
I have a friend who's been in a relationship for, I believe, 7 years now. I had asked her, what would you do if your partner cheated on you? And she was like, honestly, at this point, I love him so much. I trust him so much. I would probably go to therapy and figure out why it happened. That's, I think, the hardest thing about dating. It's so hard to know what is like a deal breaker.
Yes.
And what is something that you can work through. And I feel this way with friends of mine because I don't have that marriage or partnership that I can point to in my own life, but I have several friends who are there for me so consistently that when they hurt me or disappoint me, it is over very quickly because I'm like, your family. Hurting me once is not going to faze me. Whereas if somebody that I didn't trust as much or hadn't been there for me for as long or as deeply did the exact same thing, we would not have a relationship anymore. We would be acquaintances now. So it is so dependent on the relationship you have with the other person.
Stop chasing people who don't get it. Stop chasing, trying to get back in your life. People that God is trying to take out of your life, let them go. This is a time in your life that you can no longer continue to grieve about who walked away, who abandoned you, who forsook you, who left you, who walked away. You've got to stand up and recognize that God doesn't need anything that you lost to bless you. God will always use what you got left. Let them go. Because the person who hurt you didn't get away clean. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying to you. You think you're the only one that had any pain because you went in the pit. But the one who threw you in the pit has to live with the guilt that you never did a thing to hurt them. And God is too just to let them get away without suffering.
What is the worst relationship advice you've ever heard or received?
Find someone who loves you more than you love them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Great. Good answer. All right. Question number 2. What's the best relationship advice you've ever heard, received, or given?
Make a list of the things that are truly important for you to find in a partner, and then be that list.
One of the questions I've been asked quite repeatedly on the last tour is, how do I find the person who's right for me on social media dating platforms or just in the general world? I don't know how to answer that question. How do you find the person that's right for you? But I can say generically, that's not a good question. It's the wrong question. And if you pose the question like that, you will not find an answer. The right question is, how can I make myself into the most attractive possible mate with young men? A huge part of the answer to that is clean up your room, put your life in order.
Make your bed.
Start there at least. What you're aiming at is highly productive generosity with some spine.
There will be moments where love goes on trial. There will be tough times that you will have to deal with love. The problem with heartbreak, with a bruised love, is if I have a bruised arm, you can treat it. If I have a bruised shin, there's something you can do about it. But if my love is bruised, there is no surgery for a broken heart. Not the kind of heart I'm talking about. There is no surgery for a broken heart. There is no pain medicine for a broken heart. You don't believe me. If somebody breaks your heart, take Tylenol.
Post Malone once said, never ignore a person who loves you and cares for you, because one day you'll realize that you lost the moon while counting the stars. And that shit hit.
That most married people marry somebody who's 80% of what they want, but 20% looks huge when you're not getting it. And so they leave the 80 to get the 20, only to move in with the 20 and miss the 80. Because the only thing that makes the 20 look valuable is because it supplements the 80. But if you lose your 80 going after your 20,
I know it's a cornball thing, but love is passion, obsession, someone you can't live without. I say, fall head over heels, find someone you can love like crazy and who'll love you the same way back. How'd you find him? Well, you forget your head and you listen to your heart. I'm not hearing any heart. Because the truth is, honey, there's no sense living your life without this. Make the journey and not all deeply in love. Well, you haven't lived a life at all. But you have to try, because if you haven't tried, you haven't lived.
be careful of one-sided relationships where they always take and never give. Eventually, you're going to become depleted because it's all about what can you do for me. And sooner or later, you get tired of people that only call you when it's about them. Some of the folk that are dancing around you are not really for you, but God is still going to use them to loose you for what he's about to do in your life. I feel like I'm talking to somebody. You might be online right now, but I'm talking to you. You've been in a holding pattern long enough, but God said, I'm gonna loose.
Never trust anybody who take hours to text you back. But whenever you are with them, they are always on their phones 24/7 texting.
Stop fixing your spouse. Stop it. Stop pestering your spouse. Stop analyzing your spouse. Stop using scriptures to manipulate them into what you think they ought to be, because I married you to be my wife, not my pastor. I told my wife, I said, I know you saw this robe. I preached in robes back then. I said, there's a man in this robe. You are not marrying this robe. I'm not marrying you as a prop. There's a man, there's a dude, there's a guy. There is a Negro up under this robe who needs attention, okay?
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, fellas, don't leave me out there by myself. Yeah.
I know you are trying to see the good in them, but it's blinding you to see the truth that you deserve much more.
What do you think happens when we die, Keanu Reeves?
I know that the ones who love us will miss us.
Look, the person's always going to be thinking, always, if you really knew who I was, you wouldn't love me, you wouldn't be with me. And you know, hey, fair enough, because people are full of snakes. And if all those snakes were revealed, perhaps the logical thing to do would be to run. And so then you might say, well, why not run? It's like, well, you want to run from everyone for the rest of your life? The hardest one is to tell the truth, or at least not to lie.
Do you sometimes avoid telling the truth just to be kind?
I try to be as kind as possible, but no.
Good.
I'm tempted to.
Yeah.
Because I'm fundamentally an agreeable person, surprisingly enough. But I'm convinced that it's better to face things when they need to be faced and to get to the bottom of things.
The number one skill needed for a long-lasting relationship is not date nights, it's not holiday cruises, it's not walks on the beach, it's not giving each other gifts, it's not cooking for each other, it's learning how to fight. The truth is that any good relationship will always have conflict. It's where you're never going to be in a scenario where you're dating, where you don't argue or you don't have a disagreement. It's going to happen.
My wife had to learn every time I come home, and every time I come home and I'm not talking, it doesn't mean I don't like her. It doesn't mean that I'm mad at her. It doesn't mean every time I flip out, freak out, get weird, act strange, it is not about you. So you don't need to fix nothing. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to fix me. It is not your job to fix me. It is not my job to fix you. It is my job to love you broken. Because if I can love you broken, maybe I can love me broken.
Absolutely.
If I can't love you flawed, then I really don't love myself flawed.
Don't invest in someone based on how much you like them. Invest in them based on how much they invest in you. People don't do that. People invest on instincts. A lot of people make the mistake of investing in someone solely based on their feelings. They'll say, oh, I really like them, so I'm all in. But here's the deal. It's crucial to have a mutual investment in a relationship. You need to see if the other person is putting in the effort and showing that they value you just as much. It's not about one-sided love or just following your instincts. It's about finding balance where both of you are invested in each other. So again, don't invest in someone based on how much you like them. Invest in them based on how much they invest in you.
The person who's still great in week 8 is showing you the right things. But if they suddenly ghost you in week 9, then it doesn't mean they would have been great in week 16.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, but they were the one and I don't know what, I need closure. You have closure.
Mm-hmm.
That action was closure. What they showed you is they had 8 good weeks in them.
Yeah. That's interesting.
If you love someone, if it's genuine love, you see their hidden soul. That's a good way of thinking about it. You get a glimpse of the light that they could reveal to the world if they revealed it. That's what you see. And then to act in love is to encourage that to come forward and to discourage anything that gets in its way.
Letting go doesn't always mean it can't work out later. It's just that it cannot work out under these circumstances. Because some people say, well, I feel like they're the one. Okay, maybe they are. But maybe the time is not right. And it's letting go that will allow you both to do what needs to be done in your own personal lives that will allow you to come back together and have something way more amazing.
I think when we love someone, we think we have to solve their problems and we think we have to say the perfect thing and we think we can fix it. Actually, what we need to do is be patient and supportive and loving and kind and just be there.
Yeah.
And we don't have to say the perfect thing and we don't have to have the perfect advice because we don't know what it feels like.
If your partner thinks you're never going to walk away from them, no matter what they do, you've lost. That's a horrible place to be in. We have to get to a place where we both understand that as long as we show up the way that we need to show up for each other, we have each other's back. We will be here. But neither of us will tolerate an unhealthy relationship and someone who blatantly does not want to work on making this better.
How do you define love? Love is sacrifice. Love is pain. Love is patience. Love is sharing. Love is honesty. Love is integral. Love is unwavering. It's all those things. But I think that more than anything, it is patience.
Get this straight. Never control him. Let him do whatever he wants to do so that you can see what he would rather do. his actions will show you if he respects you.
I cannot change that person that hurt me. They did whatever they did. They had their reasons. I don't want to find out. It's not my job to even make them a better person. Where did I go wrong? It takes two to tango. What did I do wrong? Why did I settle? Why did I accept that? Why did I stay? Why didn't I stand up for myself? Why am I choosing things that are not good for me? What's happening in this department? And that's when you grow and you actually learn from your failures.
You don't realize that everything on planet Earth, including us, is either growing or dying.
You're so right.
And so if you're not putting in the work to make it grow, it will naturally die. And so relationships are just dying every day, not because love died, kindness died, empathy died, understanding died, love never died.
One of the rules I had in my marriage, and it was a rule that my wife also was pleased to follow, was that if we have a problem, we're going to deal with it right now. And we're going to deal with it right to the bottom. And that's very unpleasant. But if you do it, sometimes you only have to do it once and the problem goes away. And then you don't have that bloody problem every day for the rest of your life. And sometimes it takes, 20 times before it's fixed, before you've got to the bottom of things. And that can be very unpleasant.
Why do you think a lot of people in the world get to a point where they don't believe they're lovable?
The reason we don't believe that we're lovable is because we think if people don't love us, then we're not lovable. So we base the feeling of being loved by someone else as more important than being loved by ourselves.
Like, my advice is, if you want to find your life partner, if you want to find the love of your life, your soulmate, whatever you want to call it, right? You have to do the work first. If you want to find the right one, you got to show up as the right one. And this is what people don't get. And I've always heard men say, I want a Michelle Obama. If you want a Michelle Obama, you got to be an Obama, right? So you got to put the work. You got to show up as the best version of you. And that's, I think, is the most profound way to love somebody. And the most selfless way to love somebody is to show up in a relationship as the best version of you.
Man suddenly decides, I'm going to give everything. This is it. I'm going to go all in. He's a different person. So you're dealing with someone who's not even giving you 100%. He's giving you 60% maybe at best. And you're taking that. Meanwhile, someone who's right for you is losing years with you right now. Wow. They're losing time with you. Life is not long enough when you find the right person.
I think it always starts with self. And you have to be honest with yourself about, why are you still here? Why are you holding on? What's really driving you? Because let's say you're a woman and the only reason why you're holding on to this guy is because he's a nice guy. You don't feel like starting the process over with somebody else. So even though you're not feeling it with him, you figure, let me try to make it work. You're wasting your time.
But if I told you that I love you, would you tell me that you love me back? What if I told you that I miss you? Would you tell me that you miss me back?
I think the biggest issue we're having in relationships right now is we're saying, well, I like this, why don't you like it? Relationships are saying, I love that you love that, and I love this. You go do your thing, I'll go do mine. Why do I want to force my partner to come watch a football game with me if they hate football? I'd rather go watch it with someone that loves football. And why is she going to force me to go do something that I don't want to do? I don't think that that's compromise or connection. I think that's ruining relationships, quite frankly. You're more likely to figure out who's the one by the person you want to make it work with. So I think if people stop looking for the perfect one, because what you're saying when you're looking for the perfect one is you're saying, unless they're fully perfect, fully formed, I'm going to keep saying no to lots of people. Not realizing that it's the person who wants to make it work with you and the person you want to make it work with. The choice is what makes love beautiful. If there was someone predestined for you, then you're saying there's no choice. You're saying that they were just made for you.
That's not love. Love is a choice that you're choosing to love this person for the rest of your life.
Love is a choice. When I decide to love somebody and be with them and respect them and be loyal, it means that no matter how fluctuated my feelings are or what I'm going through, that I stand with that choice I make and I stick to my ground because it's a choice. I understand that that person is exactly what I need, and therefore I don't depend on my feelings or emotions. I'm depending on the choice I make. Feelings go up and down, and you cannot take decisions based on your emotions. But sadly, nowadays, people are loving based on their feelings and how they feel and their mood and all that. But love is just a choice. And the choices you make are a reflection of who you are as a person.
Both giving up something you both want for something both of you don't want. That's what a compromise is. Imagine I gave up what I wanted to do all the time to be where Radhi wanted me to be. I'm going to be feeling upset. I'm going to be thinking I should be doing this or I could be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you develop bitterness towards the other person when you can't even respect and appreciate them. And if you were always dragged to what I'm doing, you may be thinking, well, I could be doing this or I could be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And what ends up happening is I feel like you actually move closer away by forcing yourself together, by forcing yourself to be together.
Yes.
When actually you could move closer together by allowing yourselves to have that space. If you're scared of being alone and single and you're going into a relationship because of that fear, research shows 3 things happen. The first thing is you're guaranteed to settle for less than you deserve. Guaranteed. The second thing is you're more likely to be dependent on that person because you think they're out of your league. And so now you'll become, do, mold, fold, become anything they want you to be. And the third is you're going to be scared to leave them because being with them in your mind is better than being alone.
Everyone says marriage should be 50-50. It's never 50-50. What we do is we quantify where we are. So if Steve comes home and he'll be like, I got 20. Just energy, investment, kindness, patience. I had 20. And I'll be like, I'll cover you. I got you, brother. Like, I'll pull the 80. Sometimes we come home, which we have done a lot. My mom has been sick and I'll say, I've got 10. And Steve goes, I'm riding a solid 25. So we know that we have to sit down at the table anytime we have less than 100 combined and figure out a plan of kindness toward each other.
Oh, I love that.
The thing is, marriage is not something that's 50-50. A partnership works when you can carry their 20 or they can carry your 20. And that when you both just have 20, you have a plan where you don't hurt each other.
If a person lets you down more than twice, listen, once it's a warning, twice it's a lesson. Anything more than that, it is simply means they are taking you for granted. They are taking you for the fool. They are just taking advantage of you. When you see such kind of thing, you just need to simply fomos.
I am not saying that I am easy to love. I am not saying that I am perfect. I'm not saying that I always give you the right answer or that I always have it together. I'm just saying that I'm worth it. And if you don't see that, I'm worth it, then why are we doing this?
Stop trying to change anyone because people don't change for people, they change for themselves. Stop trying to change anyone. People do not change for you, they don't change for me, they change for themselves. And if they don't want to change, they're not changing. And if you want to change your partner, chances are they're not the right person for you. Think that relationships are so much more about learning to respect other people's values than they are to make them value what we value. I think the biggest issue we're having in relationships right now is we're saying, well, I like this, why don't you like it? Relationships are saying, I love that you love that, and I love this. You go do your thing, I'll go do mine.
It's pretty hard to be sane and to have a functional identity without being married or the equivalent if you're an adult. You need someone who's a long-term partner, because otherwise your life is a mess of loneliness or short-term chaotic relationships. And it's very difficult to be sane and happy when that's happening. It's very hard to maintain your equilibrium unless you have at least some family, right? Some siblings, parents that you have a bonded relationship with, that you're in interaction with. What do you have when things go wrong? You've got the people you love and who love you. You've got your friends. You've got hopefully your career and maybe your creative endeavors. You have the service you can provide to others at the level of civic responsibility. And all of that, none of that's been discussed in some real sense for about 60 years. And all of that's core to the kind of identity that stops people from being absolutely anxiety-ridden and hopeless.
I've seen research that shows how when someone breaks up with you or when you break up with someone, you almost crave them like we crave an addiction.
Yes, some people experience heartbreak with such an ache, with such a sense of longing and such a sense of fracturing on the inside that their longing becomes obsessive, that they are trapped in rumination, and that it experienced like a withdrawal. That is not all breakups, but that is the extreme kind of breakup, which has been compared to an addiction because of the intense sense of withdrawal and because it takes place in the same centers in the brain.
I think it's healthy to miss each other. I think it's healthier if you have a plan of how you're going to be apart. And I think it's even healthier if you have a plan of how to reconnect after the time apart. And I think that's where relationships in distance go wrong. Most relationships in distance are either by default or with no consciousness. So we just ended up not seeing each other for X amount of time, whether that's 1 week, 1 month, or whatever it may be. That unconscious time of not being with each other is not healthy for a relationship. You don't know why you're disconnected. You don't know for how long. You don't know how you're reconnecting, and you don't know how you're staying in touch. That's not good quality time away.
If I say I miss you, it means I truly miss you more than you can ever imagine. A lot of men may not say, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you. You know, they may mean it, but they only miss you a tad bit. When a man is truly in love with you, when they say they miss you, it means you took a part of their soul. It means you took a part of something that they want back, and they want you back with it. They're like, please come back. Because when you're in love with somebody and you tell them you miss them, you have to understand that that's coming from the heart. There's nothing else they can tell you more than tell you that they miss you because of the fact that you took a part of their soul. A lot of y'all may just use it like, I miss you, I miss you. Nah, man. I miss you is very meaningful. And when you tell a woman that, I want women to understand that a man that says it and means it, you're going to truly feel it. So, when you're in a relationship and he says he misses you, you best believe you took a part of something. He cares and he wants you back. I miss you is very meaningful and he truly loves you. So please don't take that sentence for granted. Like it's some real shit that y'all got to understand. This isn't a game. I miss you.
The biggest question, if you're in a relationship and you want to find out whether you're with the right person or not, there's one question. If somebody told you, you and your significant other are so alike, would you be offended or would you be proud? The answer to that question will tell you what you really feel subconsciously and consciously about your partner. Whether you're staying because memories, because you invested time, because you love them, because sometimes it was good, although a lot of times it wasn't good, but you're like holding on to the nitty-gritty pieces and the breadcrumbs of the relationship. But if somebody asked you that question and told you, your guys are so similar, if you get offended, that means you're not with the right person. But if you feel proud that you resemble them, then that means you're with the right person. So I think that's a very important question to ask yourself.
Love does hurt. Love hurts. It hurts to care. Love hurts so bad that it's the funniest thing. We have the oddest relationship with it. We all want it and we all need it. Take my mom, and yet we try to dodge it. Maybe it's because it's so expensive. Love is expensive, not just with checks and dinner and stuff. I'm not talking about cars and flowers and stuff. Love is expensive because love requires an openness that is unsettling, a transparency that is difficult.
This is another good rule for couple conflict. Like, let's say I'm unhappy with you. Say, so I come and tell you that. You can ask me, okay, what do you want? If I could give you what you wanted, what would it be? Well, I don't know. It's like, no, sorry. I cannot hit a target you won't specify. Let's discuss it at least. We got to have a target here. And so this is also if you're an employee. You got to know this if you're an employee. You're going to your boss with a problem. Why don't you go with a solution too? You know, and if you're the sort of employee who goes to your boss with a solution, you'll ratchet yourself up the hierarchy. If you're in a halfway decent business, you'll ratchet yourself up the hierarchy so fast you can't believe it, because you'll get a reputation as the person who can solve the problem.
How do you know if a relationship is worth saving?
Shall I stay or shall I go? Is one of the fundamental questions. And here's the thing. Even if you decide to stay, or even if they decide to go, you may do so while at the same time having a part of you that actually holds the other side. If you think that the decision is 100% perfect, no doubt, no hesitation, then it's a setup. If you leave, you need to be able to leave while experiencing the loss of some things that may have been good, even if it's just a dream of what was. If you stay, you have to be able to grieve the part of you that will never know what it would have been like if you actually left.
Here's what happens when you fall in love. You need to know this. This is what happens. Most of the time when you look at the world, you look at your memory. Now, a great artist will come along and paint a picture of a rose, and you'll look at the painting and you'll think, oh yeah, that's what a rose looks like. Because you're busy with your life and you walk by the flowers and you don't stop to smell them, and they've disappeared for you. And a great artist will remind you what's there. When you fall in love with someone, you fall in love with who they could be if they were the best they could be. You get to see that. That's what that love is, that falling in love. It's like you get to see who that person could be. And it's a gift. It's like a gift from fate. It's a gift from God. You don't get to keep that. You get a glimpse of it. And then it's up to you to realize that in your life. And you could do that. And then you'd have that person you loved. Right? That's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. It's a very hard thing not to do too, though, because then you don't get it. And the other person, that person that could be there, if you loved them enough, that person doesn't get to come into existence. And so you can risk that, you know. You ought to be attentive, though. And you can do that with your kids, too. Everybody around you. You can do that. You own a business. You can do that with your employees. You watch them. You see when they do something good. You say, hey, I saw that. You could do that again. Man, I tell you, people will love you if you do that. Your partner has to be all in. That's why you have a marriage vow. Because the marriage vow is basically this. No matter what you tell me, I won't run away. When someone unveils their whole heart, it's not pleasant. It's awful. And so they need to know that you will not run away. And that's a vow, because what do you know? The person's always going to be thinking, if you really knew who I was, you wouldn't love me. You wouldn't be with me. And you know, hey, fair enough, because people are full of snakes. And if all those snakes were revealed, perhaps the logical thing to do would be to run. And so then you might say, well, why not run? It's like, well, you want to run from everyone for the rest of your life? You want to forego the advantages of a permanent relationship? And you're full of snakes too. So you're both making a bad bet. And so you make the bad bet based on the idea that if you are faithful and you are truthful, that you can resolve the issues, and you can. It's a good deal.
How do you know if someone's wasting your time? How do you know if you're letting yourself be used or wasted in that way?
I will say that in general, if this person isn't willing to talk about things, they're wasting your time. If they're not willing to address or correct things that have been talked about, they're wasting your time. If you guys aren't on the same page about what you want and where you want to go in life, wasting time. So there are some things I think we can just look at and say, listen, this is pointless here. But a lot of times, and I have to say this, especially for women, women's intuition is extremely powerful. I'm a huge believer in it. And I feel like women know very early, this isn't it. But they rationalize reasons to convince themselves to give this man a chance. And this, again, is a waste of time because it just doesn't work. I've seen people turn what should have been maybe a couple weeks of dating into years of being married to someone they were not happy with.
In every relationship, you will find that there often is one person who is more afraid of losing the other and one person who is more afraid of losing themselves. One person more afraid of abandonment and rejection, therefore more likely to acquiesce, to pacify, to placate, to say yes until maybe one day not. And one person more afraid of suffocation, and therefore they fight for their ideas, their ways of doing it, the timing of the dishes. And that is less about power. That is more about the nature of connection. The majority of power struggles in a relationship are not power struggles. Power is the defense. The control battle is the way people are defending, trying to get something for something else that they are worried about.
One of the biggest problems is people falling for people really quickly.
Yes.
Falling in love too fast, where it's because they went on a couple of great dates with a guy. And they can look at the date and go, he was amazing, and you should have seen what he did and how he was on the date and all of that. And the thing I have to always break down is that may not have been about you. It is about something he wanted you to feel by the end of the day. We all have a narcissistic streak.
Absolutely.
And we all exhibit narcissistic behaviors at times. So we go on a date with someone, and if someone's really on the extreme end, they will give the greatest date of someone's life.
Yeah.
They may have put on an amazing date, but you know nothing yet. Well, I want to see how you are in week 4.
Yeah.
Or I want to see how you are in month 3.
Yeah.
And until you've been there, you really don't know how great of a partner somebody is going to be.
Somebody broke up with you and you thought you couldn't make it without them. And then you looked them up on Facebook and you fell on your knees and thank God that they broke your heart. Oh, thank God they weren't interested in me. I'm glad they rejected me. Showed me that God was enough and I don't need him. I'm glad it happened. Aren't you glad that the storm stripped away everything that you really didn't need so you could know what was core to the essential nature of who Christ made you to be? Aren't you glad that you're not going into the next year carrying dead weight of worthless relationships? Aren't you glad that God closed some doors so that you wouldn't spend years of your life in the wrong room? I'm glad it happened.
I think most people are confused about what they want.
Yes.
You're chasing this love story that you were brainwashed to believe. People haven't taken a moment to step back and say, what do I want?
The best-selling author, award-winning host of the On Purpose podcast, Jay Shetty. So what does a former monk have to say about love and relationships?
You attract what you use to impress. And so if you use your bling or your whatever you're wearing to impress someone, that's what you're attracting. You're attracting someone who is with you for that thing. A relationship is an energy exchange physically, financially, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The problem is that the financial exchange is the only visible one. When you're on the other side of a hidden expectation, it breeds resentment. I think a lot of people go, no, I don't expect that. I don't want that. But then do you really want it, right? Like there's a lot of things that get lost in those hidden expectations.
There is love out there. And you can have it. Can you have your love in exactly the way that you always told yourself you would have it? Probably not. But that's a childish version of love anyway. That's not like a love of a real person. Because to me, real love is someone comes into your life and they're not everything that the 21-year-old or 25-year-old or maybe even the 30-year-old version of you said they wanted. But it's irrelevant because there's something about this person and the way that they are or the way that they love you or the connection you have with them that makes that stuff seem silly. That makes that stuff not feel important anymore. And now what you've done is you've fallen in love with a person, not a blueprint that you had made up at some point in your life. Because people aren't blueprints, they're people. You're going to come along and you're not going to be everything that someone wanted. Like, you're just not. You're going to be some of what they wanted, some of what they didn't want, but the core of you is going to make you their person.
Dad,
kill anything in me, even if I love it, even if I think I need it, even if I think I can't breathe without it. God, if it is going to kill what you placed down on the inside of me, I am giving you full permission on a Thursday night at 9:10 p.m. to set an ambush on anything that's down on the inside of me that would dare go to war with the destiny that's on the inside. Set an ambush until toxic relationships are broken. Set an ambush until generational curses are broken. Set an ambush until demons start trembling. I came in here to set an ambush on everything trying to set an ambush on you. I came in here to go to war with the enemy. Get your fight back. Remember who you are. You can set an ambush on hell.